Hey there, alien hive minds. I'm the Comics Kid 2099 here to talk about the episode of Superman the Animated Series titled Unity. If you haven't seen the episode, you should before I get into the spoilers. Supergirl goes to Metropolis for spring break, but while she was gone, an alien turned the entire population of Smallville into a giant hive mind. Supergirl gets Superman, and they destroy the alien and save the day. Cue credits. So I was beginning to think this series had forgotten that it introduced Supergirl, like they did with Steel, but at least they have a good reason in this case, or at least a better reason than what they did with Steel. As we saw in Little Girl Lost, Superman wants Supergirl to get used to life as a human before he turns her loose on Earth. But the read I had on the ending of Little Girl Lost was that Supergirl was now ready to leave Smallville and do Supergirlish things. But here it seems like she's back to being grounded in Smallville and not even allowed to use her powers to go to Metropolis. I guess it's possible this episode is set sometime in between Little Girl Lost, but unless we're explicitly told that, I won't make that assumption. So it's just a little weird that they're regressing Supergirl for this episode, but I don't see any other way this plot could have worked if she was already fighting crime on the reg before this episode starts, unless they said she comes back to Smallville and everyone is already part of Unity. I guess that would have been fine, but then I feel like you would have had even more padding than what this episode already has. And this episode is already pretty plot bare, and unfortunately I don't see any way to fix that. It feels like the threat should have been ended as soon as Superman is notified of what's happening, but they still have like a third of the episode left to go. Maybe it would have been better if this had been Supergirl's baptism of fire and she had to fight this thing on her own. It would have made the stakes feel a little bit more legit, since Supergirl hasn't done anything by herself that we've seen. I mean, she did have at least one team up with Batgirl in the new Batman Adventures that is referenced in this episode, so maybe she has fought other things by herself, but that we know of, this could be her first big solo number. But I don't know what you could do to get Superman out of this story. Maybe say that he's doing something in space for Star Labs again? He's done that a few times in this series, so I guess that's plausible. And you might say that I'm constantly making quips about how this is Superman's show and that he needs to be part of the episode. For instance, he didn't do that much in the episode In Brightest Day. Yeah, I have made a comment about that a few times, but Supergirl is part of this show, so giving her an entire episode to do her thing makes sense, just like it did when Lois Lane was the center of a murder mystery to be, or when Jimmy Olsen was unwittingly put in the spotlight. I do question the logistics of how the Unity monster works, though. It seems like it absorbs memories of everyone who becomes part of it by the end of the episode, when the creature is calling Supergirl Kara, which only the Kents and Superman know her by. And that makes sense. Unity implies everything in common, so everyone in the hive mind should all know what each other knows, at least while they are hooked up. And yet, when Kara first returns to Metropolis, it doesn't seem like anyone else knows of her abilities. They should be at least a little bit more cautious of how they try to recruit her, right? Either the Kents should have tried to immediately shove a tentacle down her throat before she suspected anything, or the creatures should have been trying to kill her for their own safety, rather than try to recruit her. And I'm not saying that everyone in town should have known Kara's secret identity after the episode, but at least while they were possessed, I think they should have. Again, just to raise the stakes a little bit. And speaking of questions about the Unity monster, just where did it come from, and how many planets has it conquered already? The leader implies it's done this on multiple planets, but we've already introduced the Green Lantern Corps in this series, so are they all just asleep on the job, or what? And why did this thing choose Smallville of all places? I get it, that's where Supergirl is from, but if you were an alien hive mind, would you choose Smallville? Yeah, less chance of getting exposed before you're ready to strike, but if you choose, say, Metropolis, you could take a big chunk of the population before anyone even found out what you were up to. Even bigger than the entire population of Smallville, I would say. But those are really just nitpicks, if I'm being honest. So those are my thoughts on this episode. A fun one, but not much going on for me to really discuss. But what did you guys think of the episode and of my review? If you liked it, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be back next week to talk about another episode. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.